Hey guys, it's Will Chandler, Guardian Fury. Start doing some yard work, and I was gonna try to just get my axe sharpened. I was thinking about some stuff though while I was working. I wanted to cover something, and that's of the critical thinking, being a Jehovah's Witness, and how your critical thinking works. When you are one, you think that you have it all figured out. You think you know how to examine stuff, and once you get out, you realize how unwarranted those thoughts might be. Look at all the cart crashes, for example, and you're going to see almost every time the Jehovah's Witness thinks that they have examined things, thinks they have looked at stuff critically, and thinks they have convinced themselves, like the Bereans. That's the Rouge, that's the clever manipulation done by the Watchtower. And it's just getting just inklings of critical thinking, just the very beginnings of it, is what woke me up and what helped me prove biblically that the Jehovah's Witness cult was a lie. And that was because of how many talks I was giving in, like, the Theocratic Ministry School. For us, it was on Thursday, and like I said in a previous video, it was weekly. At least once a week. I was at 16 years of age. At least once a week, I was giving a public talk, and just my personality-wise, and considering I've been doing it since I was 7, I never really had a problem with public speaking, and I enjoyed the challenge, especially short notice. Go get it. Get your ball. Trying to play catch with my dog a little bit, but he keeps loosening the ball down the hill. As an example, when I went to public high school, to figure out where I was at, my English teacher had me read a book and asked me to then just give her an essay about it, give her an examination of it, pick something and do a paper on it. Well, I thought that meant book report, basically. Like, I just gave a synopsis of the book, just like a cliff notes of the book, right? In reality, what she's looking for is she wants you to pick something that the author wrote about and look into it and examine it, look at the characters involved, and why the author chose the words he did, why the scenes were set up that way, how it could relate to different situations, a critical review of a book, not a book report. And when you go to the Kingdom Hall, all you get is, for the most part, is reports. Now, in my speeches, in my little talks there, I definitely did mostly start out as book reports. Basically, you read your little passage and you just pick something from a Watchtower that had that scripture in it or something, and connect the 2 dots, and there you go, right? Well, that's not critical thinking. It's when you look at, they call their meeting when they go over the Watchtower on Sunday morning, they call it like a Bible study, right? And it's not a study, it's a briefing. I take it from someone that's been there, done that, military-wise. I know what a briefing is. I've given plenty, and I've been in far more than I care to remember. And especially what the Watchtower study is, it's not a study. It is a briefing, and you have key points, and you have people repeat those key points back to you, so it gets drummed in your head. For instance, if I was doing the security report for a mission coming up, after I gave my And so I presented my material, and after I'd done my research and found out what hostile activity was in the area, what type of IEDs to expect, or if it was going to be just a simple explosion, or would it be a complex ambush, or what would be expected, what had happened in the area. And then when I got done my part of the briefing, I might ask a few questions to make sure that everyone there knew the parts that would help keep them alive. I wanted to make sure that people knew the briefing, so they repeated what I said. That's what the Watchtower is. It's not a study. It's not you figuring stuff out, thinking critically, who, what, when, where, how, and why. It is just you repeating what they said as a form of mind control, brainwashing, cult propaganda, and cult control. That's what it is. I hope this video is coming out. I have no idea, because it's getting a little dark, and my screen, I guess, has a light on, so it's kind of hard for me to look at. I can't quite tell what's happening. But another example of thinking critically, the other day I was watching some videos, and I was just thinking of all the subliminal images, like the one I showed in that video, then all the subliminal images of Baphomet that are in the Watchtower publications. And I was just kind of looking at it, thinking of it, and I was thinking how the Baphomet and the bull-headed demon god Jehovah, if you're, they have this shrine to in a Satanist temple or whatever. And I was looking at it, and I looked at the horns, and I was thinking of Baphomet being the god of destruction and mischief and destruction, right? And I just got thinking, looking at the horns, and Loki popped in my head. Marvel's big right now in the theaters, right? So it got me thinking of Loki, and I did some researching, and I wasn't the first one to make the connection, but basically that is what Loki is in the Norse mythology. So critical thinking, why is it like this? Why do these pictures look the same? Well, in Norse mythology, Loki basically would end up being a Baphomet-type figure. Something like that, where if you learn to think critically, it's not just spitting something back out, which is what a lot of these Jehovah's Witnesses think. They think they're thinking of it critically. I think I beat that dead horse probably. I think I made that point. And thinking outside of the box and looking at something, examining it. Why does it say what it does? Where did these ideas come from? It's a matter of examining everything from all angles. And it's kind of like Albert Einstein said, imagination is the most important. It's not how much you can think about something as far as math or all the absolutes. It was the imagination of what's possible, thinking outside the box, thinking critically about why is something this way and how could it become this way? What are some reasons I can try to think of? And he dropped his ball again. Crazy dog. So I just wanted to share that. And also, my first critical paper in English class was failed miserably in public school because it was a book report and not an essay on a topic in the book itself. But I learned fairly quickly, and by the time I was in dual enrollment English in high school, I got A's in that. But so I learned, and it's a learning process. Also in the military, critical thinking is a must in this type of engagement we're in. It's not trench warfare like in World War I or World War II. Even it was more static. But when you have a insurgency type conflict, if you can't think critically, you can't think outside the box, that's when you're going to have a bigger chance of guys dying. Or just more contact, bad things happening because the enemy is able to predict what you're doing. Because if you just follow the briefing in, say, the Army's basic combat manual of, one line is suppressing and then the other line is advancing, and the enemy knows all the regular tactics. Thinking outside the box is how you stay alive a lot of times. And I know I feel like now I'm just kind of dragging on. So I was thinking about that stuff, about critical thinking, and I wanted to just throw that out there. And that's my take on it, that these people really do think they've thought critically. They think they've researched stuff. They've let other people do that. They've let other people do their research. And all they're doing is, as we know, just repeating what they've heard, like a briefing. It's not a study. It's a briefing. So, anyway, this is Guardian Fury. And hope you guys have a good night. Bye.